Hello everybody, my name is Cameron Earl and welcome to another video. So this is a very different video. I mean, it's just another generic ranking video, but this is something that I've actually never talked about on the channel. Now, of course, it's related to Dead by Daylight because of the title, of course, and something I've never talked about on this channel, Youtooz. So I have the full collection of Youtooz, minus the 4 that are on pre-order. I'll do another ranking video a little while after those come out. And I have thought hard about this. I have thought pretty hard about this ranking I have. So currently there are 8 Dead by Daylight Youtooz that are actually out and that people actually have. Of course, some content creators like Spooky Loops, I know, has all of the the 4 new Dead by Daylight Youtooz that haven't come out yet, but that's because, like, come on, he's a big Dead by Daylight content creator. I'm sure, like, Aughts or Hens have them too. But I found out about these soon after I got into Dead by Daylight, and I ended up liking Dead by Daylight so much that I eventually started buying all the Youtooz, and I just now, a couple days ago, received the final of the 8 that I had left to buy. And the final one that just got here a couple days ago is in last place because I really did not feel like buying her because she is my least favorite character in the Dead by Daylight universe. And that is Fong Min. Now, of course, the costume's cool. You know, they had her pretty popular bunny outfit. And, of course, you know, the Youtooz had the style where their heads are huge and they're always smiling. But here's my problem with Fang Min, the player base. Fang Min and Nia, as well, are popular for their super wild cosmetics, but most of all, a lot of really good juicers and good people in chase, but they are also known for teabagging, bringing flashlights, bullying you. Of course, the art for Fang Min, you know, here's the box. I took them out of the box so you could get a better look at them. So she just has her money costume. I believe Fang Min in this line is actually the first of the Youtooz. Let me get this box open here. Yeah, she is number 0 on there. Number 0. And also throughout all these, I also want to read the words, because there's also words on their boxes too. So we have I have True Sight. A lifelong gamer and fierce esports competitor, Fang Min drives to complete her objective is second to none. And on this side, no words, just another picture of her. And then at the top of the box, it simply says, "You mad?" Yeah, so, of course, just like Fang Min, very cocky smirk, very cocky survivor, a lot of cocky players who play her. And maybe I'm getting a little too into the stereotype, but it's rare that I encounter a non-toxic Fang Min anymore. And it's kind of rare that I encounter a non-toxic survivor if I'm playing good, or even if you know, it's just, you know, normal Dead by Daylight syndrome. You know, if you're really good and you beat them, somehow you're bad, and if you're bad and get beaten by them, you're really bad. And most of the hate messages I get are from Fang players. So yeah, Fang has never done anything to win me over, and in my opinion, her Youtooz is the worst. It was so bad that I didn't even want to buy it. I started collecting these like half a year ago, and I held off on buying her until I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to get them all at some point. So, yeah, Fang Min, last place. Okay. So, this is where I'm just, you know, these next couple of Youtooz are the Youtooz that I'm just... Well, this first Youtooz that I'm talking about is just one that I'm okay with. It's Meg. You know, she has a very triumphant expression, like, yeah, she won or she's going to win, you know, the confident expression on her. So, I don't have a single problem with Meg. You know, a lot of Megs are noobs. You sometimes get that noobish Meg in your lobby, and then, you know, they kind of just throw the game. You know, that's kind of the Meg stereotype. Let's get the box open. On the box, you got, you know, the art of her on the box, and Yeah, I don't think there's anything bad with this model. She's just kind of, basic human Youtooz when you compare her to literally all the other Youtooz, the 6 other Youtooz that I haven't talked about yet. She's just kind of, boring. So let's read the text on her box. Set her to the side here. Meg gets a thrill out of... What does that say? Meg gets a thrill out of goading killers into lengthy chases. Yes, with the sprint burst and the adrenaline. Driven by reckless courage, the athletic Meg Thomas has never been afraid to push her limits. And then on the top of the inside of the lid, it says Quick and Quiet, which is one of her perks. Probably her least used perk, but Meg has... Out of all the survivors, I'd say Meg probably has the best teachable perks. Also, she's number 6. I'd say she probably has the best teachable perks out of all of them. Every survivor in the entire game. Quick and Quiet probably being the least used one, which is your first vault or vault over a pallet is silent and oh crap, I forgot to put it back in the box. And then your first vault is silent and then it goes on cooldown. I guess I should talk about their perks too. So Fong Min's perks. Fong Min has a really good and very popular perk in Life. She has, which is an exhaustion perk where when you vault a window or a pallet, you gain a huge speed boost for a couple of seconds. And it's one of the most common exhaustion perks. If not the most common, I think Life is actually probably the one I see the most. She has Alert, which basically whenever the killer breaks anything, generator, pallet, breakable wall, you'll see their aura for a couple of seconds. And then I think Technician is her final perk, and I think that just makes missing skill checks on a generator silent if she's working on the gen. Like the skill check explosions. And Meg also has Sprint Burst, which is probably the most well-known exhaustion perk, where simply you just start walking, and then you bait the killer and trying to hit you, and then you just... Basically, you walk the whole trial, and then you click the run button, and you go zoom in for a couple of seconds. Huge speed boost, and then you're exhausted. And then she also has another exhaustion perk in Adrenaline, which is when the exit gates are powered, you gain a health state. So it's a good anti-slugging perk. It also gives you a speed boost, and I think it may give you a couple seconds of endurance. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. Alright, so we're getting into our first actual killer. And I like all these. I really like all these Youtooz. I'm actually really surprised that this Youtooz in particular is this low, but looking at all of them, I'm actually not surprised that he is this low, and that is the Trickster. This Trickster model is cool. He has the little evil smirk, and he's obviously about to laugh, and, he has the bat, he has the yellow trench coat. Even though he's one of the most hated killers in the game, I never actually hated the Trickster's design. I actually think Trickster's design, being this very sinister K-pop or whatever he sings, and, he's like doing this series of murders, and I think a killer who's a musical artist who's mixing screams of his victims into his music is actually really raw. I think it's really cool. But of course his power can sometimes be a detriment. Sometimes using your power, your chases are actually longer. You could just go for the M1. And, he's getting a rework already. However, I just wish this model took this hand over here and had him holding some knives. Sure, he has a bat as his weapon, but what is Trickster known for in Dead by Daylight? He is known as the killer who throws knives. So why did this Youtooz not have knives on him? That's my biggest problem with him. But other than that, the model's solid. But, yeah, definitely the worst of the killer Youtooz, in my opinion. So here we have his box. Here's some art on the side. The art on the back. Now we're going to open up. We're going to take the box out, the main box. Okay. He is number 1. They started at 0. Fong is number 0. He is number 1. Meg is 6. So let's see. What text we got on the side here? Enjoy this moment. You get so close. Could be him talking to one of his victims, of course. You have no control over people like... Oh, you have no control people like you never did. I don't know if that's him saying it or something, or him saying it or somebody saying that to him. That sound when you bleed, let me hear it again. Dope ass line. I really think Trickster's lore is some of my favorite killer lore, and some of his tome cutscenes. Also, he also has like some of my favorite tome lore. I just really wish, that he was better, stronger, more fun to play, but a lot of the time using the knives will actually slow you down instead of just going for the normal hit. However, the Trickster comes with some of the best teachable perks of some of the killers. A particularly popular one with endgame builds, like with No-Ed and stuff, is No Way Out, which is probably his most popular perk, which is simply the exit gates are, when the exit gates are powered, you get a noise notification the first time a survivor interacts with an exit gate, and both exit gates become blocked for X amount of time. I forget how much time it is. But also, the more survivors you hook, the longer the gates take to get unblocked. So if you ever run into it, if you're not familiar with any of the killer perks, and you run to a gate and you see that it is blocked by little entity sticks, then you will know that that is the Trickster. He also has Starstruck, which is survivors in his terror radius when he's holding a survivor get exposed. So he shuts Sabo plays way down, and with kind of the little slugging meta that's going on, slowly dying out but kind of going on, the Sabo plays are getting more and more, popular, and it's really unfortunate. So, Starstruck could definitely help. Exposed makes him one shot. And then for his final perk, we have Hex Crowd Control, which I'm pretty sure is when a survivor blocks a window, it becomes permanently blocked permanently for the rest of the trial, up to 5. And then when a survivor eventually vaults over a 6th vault, then the earliest vault that was blocked becomes unblocked, and the newest vault and it's just kind of keeps rotating. But yeah, I think the Trickster, great perks. Not a very fun killer to play. I don't know. I just really wish he was better. I wish the model was better. This model suffers from one thing and one thing only, and that is the lack of knives, because that is literally his whole entire thing, is him throwing knives. Okay, so we got the bottom 3 out of the way, and this is where the rankings became really difficult. This is where, actually, right before starting the recording of this video, I had to change some of my rankings around. I'm actually still kind of thinking about it. I don't know what model is my least favorite out of the remaining 5. It's really tough to tell. It's between the 2 that I'm holding right now. Okay, yeah, I picked my choice. So, all these Youtooz are more or less actually kind of tied, in my opinion. I don't hate anything about these Youtooz. I think they're really good. But number 5 on the list is the Legion. One of the most annoying killers to go against in the game, and a killer that I think kind of an underrated killer, but the more I play him and the better I get with him, the better survivors I go against. And it's evident how weak he actually is in the game. So the Legion is the sprinting killer. He's the killer, he is the definitive hit and run killer in Dead by Daylight. You activate your Feral Frenzy, hit a survivor, they have to mend. You go, hit another survivor, hit another one, and then your 5th hit actually downs a survivor, but if you hit the same survivor twice before getting that hitting the 4th survivor, then you actually get kicked out of your power. One of the best killers in the game at keeping everybody injured, but he is kind of, when he's not in his power, it's very hard to down it's very difficult to down survivors with your actual power, so eventually if you can keep everybody injured, but can you beat them in a normal M1 chase with no chase power whatsoever that you can use to down them. So, Legion's definitely kind of weak. He doesn't have the best map presence. because you're not going to be kicking gens in the middle of a feral frenzy often. So, looking at the art, here is the art for him on the side, and then his box here. He is number 4. What does the back of the box say? The Legion are a close-knit group of murderous killers linked by desire to dole out pain in equal measure. And the bottom of the side of the box says, a grinning mask daring you to run. Oh, that sends chills. And then he has... They draw power from the thrilling freedom of not abiding to any rule but their own. Now let's get into the model. Now the model, I think, is delightfully sinister, playfully sinister. You know, obviously he's holding the knife up to his face. He's got that permanent smile because it is his mask. He might not be smiling behind it, but, you know. I was actually Legion for Halloween last year, the Legion with my girlfriend. We both dressed up as the Legion because, you know, the Legion are actually a group of 4 killers for people who don't know the lore. Oh, God. Leather jacket, you know, blood all over his face, which is pretty cool. One of the bloodiest Youtooz that they have here for... obviously just kind of like... I just think his model's really cool. It's cooler than the Trickster. You know, it's bloodier. It's not lacking anything that the Legion has, like the Trickster was lacking his knives. And I think when it comes to, you know, the middle of the list, the Legion is the middle of the road for these good Youtooz. He's, you know, just actually a human who's probably high on acid and running around the whole time, just stabbing you. Yeah, I wonder if in the future, with their future waves, if they'll make like a Susie Youtooz, like the girl Legion. I wonder. Okay, so the next Youtooz I have here is the final of the 3 Survivor Youtooz, and that is Dwight. Poor Dwight, always getting bullied by the devs, and now he's getting bullied by Youtooz. Of course, Dwight was the one who had to be the Youtooz that got stabbed. You know, he's constantly being harassed in all the trailers and stuff, and now he's the one who's getting stabbed. On Hook, reaching out for help. Glasses got the sad face. He's the only one of these Youtooz that isn't smiling. Wait, no, I lied. Nope. One of the Youtooz we have yet to get to is not smiling as well. But yeah, he's on kind of a hook. It's more or less just like a spike going through his chest. You know, it doesn't have the hook going down. Probably the most unique Youtooz. He's the only Youtooz where the character isn't just standing. He's actually like being hung up by something. Probably the most unique out of the Youtooz, and I think he's just really good. But I think these top 3 Youtooz are the best of the best Dead by Daylight Youtooz so far. But I don't know, the 4th wave, or the 3rd wave of them coming out has actually some, like, my top 2 in them, or within my top 3. Doctor and Ghostface. I mean, maybe Hillbilly. Sable's cool, I guess. So here's the art, moving to the side. Here's the art. It's got a very blue box. What does this say? Dwight won't stop. He'll survive no matter what. Ooh. We have to work as a team. I need you to survive so that I can survive. You know, obviously. Oh, I didn't go over the Legion's perks. Legion perks. Mad Grit. You have no attack cooldown while you're holding a survivor. Also really good for stopping Sabo plays. Iron Maiden. You open lockers really fast. If a survivor gets out of a locker, they scream, expose their location, and they become exposed. And, let's see, he has Mad Grit, Iron Maiden. Oh my god, no. Wait, I know there's the 3rd one. It's kind of popular. Oh, Dissolution. Dissolution, really good for, like, the Knight and the Houndmaster, where 2 or more survivors are working on a generator. It gets highlighted for you. Now coming up, I'm actually really gonna blank on some of these because actually the top 3 killers, or the top 3 Youtooz I have, all 3 of them actually have really bad perks. And then the top of his box says, Prove Thyself, which is one of his perks. He also has Leader, and I forget what the other one is, or I think it's Bond. I don't know what any of the White's perks do. I know that Prove Thyself makes like survivors around you, their their generator progress is faster. He's also number 7 on the list. But yeah, really cool Youtooz. Of course, these top 5 I had quite a bit of trouble deciding behind, but I came up to a final verdict right before starting the filming of this video. Wait, if we have 8 Youtooz and Fong Min is number 0, then I think the White's actually the lowest number that we have, or the highest number that we have so far. I think number 7 is the lowest one. Okay, where did I put his box? Here it is. Get it back in the box. Alright. So, Youtooz number 3, the number 3 spot. We're in the top 3 now. Number 3 is the Trapper. And yeah, that is the problem as well. That is a big problem with me. Yeah, he came bent. His blood trail and his feet, you know, the blood trail is supposed to touch where his foot touches, but it's bent, and now he's on a serious wobble. So I put him like this, and then I put something, or I put his blood trail like this, and I put something on his foot. But yeah, he basically doesn't stand. Trying to get him to stay standing is just like playing him in the actual video game. A complete freaking headache. For sure. I don't know if there's anything I can do to bend him back in place without breaking him. I don't want to break him. If because a serious issue, I'm just going to get some sticky putty probably. But yeah, obviously, you know, he has the blood trail on him. He has the spikes coming out of his shoulder. He has the spikes coming out of his shoulder. The mask is really cool. It's also really, you know, the Youtooz are just kind of a nice texture. The mask on him is particularly really cool. I think the mask is probably my favorite part of him. You know, the Trapper's just iconic. You see the Trapper and you're immediately going to know where he's from. Even if you don't play Dead by Daylight, you see the Trapper and you're like, hey, he's from that one multiplayer survival horror game, huh? Oh, my puppies are playing. There they are! Hi, puppies! Oh god, all of you. All of you, hello. This is the runt. He's the softest one. Okay. So the Trapper's perks, the one I know the most is he has agitation, which is you move a lot faster on the hook. Really good for Trapper himself, or you move faster when you're carrying a survivor. Really good for Basement Trapper, which is one of his most popular, if not his most popularized build is Basement Trapper. Really hard to get out of the basement, especially if it's in shack. He has brutal strength. He breaks pallets faster, and unnerving presence, where skill checks on anything while you're in his tear radius get a lot smaller. So here's his box art. And let me get this. Let me go through all of the layers of packaging to get the box with the words on it out of here. Alright, so he is number 5. So, when the frenzy is on, it is hard to contain the blood of his victims. The back of the box has him choking out Dwight. Oh man, poor Dwight, man. When dealing with the trapped, a simple misstep can... When dealing with the Trapper, a simple misstep can prove fatal. Yes, it can indeed. Trapper's one of the killers. You know, he's... Generic M1 killer, doesn't have a very good ability at all, but he's also always the killer I find myself fumbling against, because it's like, when I'm playing Trapper, you know, you don't have to look at the ground for any of the other killers, do you? I mean, Pyramid Head, but Pyramid Head is barely played. What became of the man behind the mask? Yeah, really solid model. Just really upset that mine decided to come bent, and also like this plastic doesn't clip closed at all. When I was opening them to get them all out for the video, he literally fell on the floor because the plastic just doesn't clip. Fell right out of the plastic. So yeah, packaging's bad. The bending is bad. But overall, really cool model. Just wish that I didn't have such a hard time, you know, keeping him up. Put him back. Alright, we are in the top 2 now. And my second favorite Dead by Daylight Youtooz is the Youtooz I actually had at number 5. When I said I made some changes to my ranking right before I started filming this video, it was actually this model where they went from number 5 all the way up to number 2. And that is the Huntress. Yeah, actually really digging this model. Not a big fan of the crouching thing, but it's just like, she's so unique compared to the other ones. You know, she got 2 axes. The Huntress is just absolutely iconic with the bunny mask and the veil coming back. I just don't know why she's crouched. They could have had her standing up throwing hatchets, but maybe she would have been too similar to the other models in that way. But yeah, really cool. Her mask is really pink. It's not like white. It's like a rose pink, kind of. Like a bright, rosy pink, I would say. But yeah, everybody, the Trapper is super iconic. The Huntress is like the second most iconic. The Huntress, one of the most picked killers in the game, or at least they used to be. I don't know if they are. I don't know if she is anymore. High skill ceiling, easy to learn high skill ceiling. One of the easiest killers for beginners to pick up, but one of the hardest to get good with. Because you got to understand the trajectory of the hatchets and stuff. So let's get a look at her box art. Push her to the side. I know, I just think she has a lot more going on with her model that makes her super unique. And I actually, you know, looking at her art on the box, that's what made... I was looking at the art on the box, and that's what made her number 5, but then I actually saw the model, I'm like, wait, this model is actually, like, really dope compared to the other ones. So let's read the words. We're not safe anywhere. Nope. Huntress, really good Huntress players get those cross maps all the time. Armed with throwable hatchets, the Huntress is a constant threat to survivors. Oh my god, they're playing. Alright, and then the top of the box says, does anyone hear that song? You know, of course, referring to the most iconic thing about the Huntress, which is her lullaby. I know the Trickster has a lullaby, but I literally never heard it. I don't know if the lullaby rumor is true or whatever. But yeah, really cool. The Huntress is very cool. Her perks, I know she has one perk, which is called like Beast of Prey, where if Survivor or Territorial Imperative or whatever it's called, I don't know her perks. I know one of them has to do with the basement. Whenever survivors go into the basement, you see their aura. She has Huntress Lullaby, which is a hex perk, which is when the more you hook survivors, the harder the skill checks get, I think. I'm not sure. She's also number 2. She's number 2 on the Youtooz as well as number 2 on my list. But yeah, the Huntress, for being such a strong killer, has some of the absolute dog shit perks in the game. Yeah, she's not very good. So by process of elimination, y'all probably already know what my number 1 Dead by Daylight Youtooz is. But I feel like this is number 1 for a lot, and it's obviously the Wraith. The Wraith model is just so cool. I actually really dig the Wraith design in general in the game as well. I think he's a killer who's not too strong, but is a little bit stronger than a lot of people give him credit for, especially if you run like Devour Hope. The Silent Bell with Dragon's Grip is actually really good. Dragon's Grip, I get a lot of value out of Dragon's Grip when I'm playing Wraith. Dragon's Grip isn't a perk you see a lot, but we'll get to Dragon's Grip when the Blight comes out in a Youtooz, if he ever does. Oh, I know my girlfriend would hate that Blight. She hates the Blight. So he's not smiling, but the bell is, and so is the weapon, because his weapon is a skull, and the Wailing Bell has a skull on it as well, and they're both smiling. However, he is not, so he's the only other Youtooz besides the White that isn't smiling, but at least he has some smiles to go around. Obviously, his weapon's really cool. You know, it's like the spine and skull entity modified of his boss that made him unknowingly kill multiple people. The Wailing Bell, obviously. I never knew the Wailing Bell was like that color. Obviously, you got the little poncho that he has going on here, really cool. But I think the best part of it comes from like the model of his head and also like the smoke showing him uncloaking. I don't know, I think the Wraith is just really cool. When it comes to his perks, couldn't tell you. I know he has Shadowborn, which is like you gain like 10% haste for 5 seconds after a survivor blinds you, which is just like, why? what is it, Fixated? No, I think that's a Survivor perk. He has the one perk, which is, or is it Strider? It might be Strider, where you see the Survivor's aura after they escape chase with you. It's really good for the nurse, I know that. And then I'm completely blanking on his third perk. I don't know what his third perk is. I'm recording this on my phone, so I have nothing to look it up on. But, yes, very cool model. You know, obviously bad perks, but we're talking about the Youtooz, not the perks today. Let's get on to his box. The box art, obviously, it's just him. And let's get this open. Obviously, his map is the Autohaven Wreckers, so his box is really green. There's another apparition, more terrifying than anything I've seen, hunting amongst the shadows here. And watch out, it's not safe here. And then the top of the box says, don't move, don't blink, and don't breathe. So I think definitely the most menacing line on the box is the one on the back, and he is number 3 when it comes to the Youtooz. So what, Fong is 0, Trickster's 1, Fudge, who's 2? The Huntress is 2, right? I think the Huntress is 2. Yeah, the Huntress is 2. The Wraith is 3. Is Meg is 6. So does that mean is the White 4, Trapper 5? I'm not sure. I'm also blanking on how to put this guy back in the box, like, heavily. Is that how? There we go. And then, oh no, wait, Dwight's 7. Dwight's the last one. Wait, he's 3. Who's the 4th one? Oh, Legion. Legion, I think Legion's 4. Trapper's 5, Mega's 6, Dwight is 7. But yeah, looking for 8, 9, 10, and 11. When Sable, Ghostface, Doctor, and Hillbilly come out, I'm a really big fan of the Ghostface, the Doctor, the Hillbilly, and the Sable models, actually. I'm really digging all 4 of them. When I get to see them better in person, I'll figure out which one is my favorite. But I think all of them, I think all 4 of them would actually be above the Trappers, so they would be, like, in my top 5, at least. But, yeah, thank you everybody so much for watching. A little recap of the rankings. So from 8th place to 1st place, it's Fungmin, Meg, Thomas, the Trickster, the Legion, Dwight, what's his name? I don't know. Is it Eisenhower? I forget. Fairfield. Where did I get Eisenhower from? Dwight, Trapper, Huntress, and number 1 is the Wraith. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.